This is Turner's Travels from Angola. It's where I'm starting to celebrate 40 years of traveling around the world, primarily by hitchhiking. Angola is the country where I'm celebrating. And it all started when I was a London fireman. I was talking to Sub-Officer Richard White, and he said if I were your age, nearly 20 years old, 19 years old in fact, he said I'd be kicking around the world. And he told me about living rough and sleeping rough. So what I did in December 1975, I hitchhiked around Switzerland and slept in my tent and in sheds and learned how to survive on next to nothing. In spring 1976 I did a wonderful trip through Europe, including Austria. And then 1976 in summer, after finishing Camp America in the United States, I hitchhiked from Massachusetts to Miami. But I made a mistake. On that trip, for some particular reason, I carried a suitcase because I wanted to carry smart clothes with me in a posh part of the world. It was a mistake. In 1977, I went to Israel and worked on a kibbutz for 5 months, and I hitchhiked everywhere around Israel. And I saw Israel sleeping on kibbutzim every night. And 1977 was a big year because it was a massive journey, hitchhiking from New York, East Coast to West Coast to San Francisco and Los Angeles and back in 5 weeks. Other memorable trips include hitchhiking the width of Sahara Desert from Senegal to Tangiers in Morocco through the summer. And if you had to shut the car windows, because if you open them it was like sitting in front of a hairdryer. And some unusual hitchhiking that I've done is by ships. In the Philippines I had a free ride from Mindanao to General Santos. And then in Mauritania I got onto a Spanish ship that took me to the Canary Islands. And when I travel around the world, I have a rucksack, and it's literally my house on my back. And I can go for weeks and weeks just living out of a rucksack. And when you condense what you've actually used, you probably only need to live off half the contents in the rucksack. And people say to me, oh, I wouldn't hitchhike because it's dangerous. But who's it dangerous for? Drivers might think it's dangerous picking up a stranger at the side of the road. But when they see me with a rucksack and the flag, and sometimes carrying a map, they stop. They see the flag. A woman in Mexico City once stopped because she worked in England once upon a time. And I've even hitchhiked in the center of Cairo. And here in Angola, I've actually managed to get out of towns, centers, by hitchhiking. So they stop and pick me up because they see me as a one-off. They don't see a foreigner hitchhiking. For example, all Angolans say they've never seen a foreigner hitchhiking in Angola, and carrying a rucksack, I'm a curiosity. So they have respect. Also, distances are huge between settlements in some of these countries, so drivers often pick me up for company. So the tools of the trade, the flag, a map, and a rucksack. And it gives a serious image, so I was told in Paraguay a year ago. A man stopped because he said, you look like you're a serious traveller. And I've been brought here by Gary and Monica. Monica's an Angolan lawyer and her husband is an Israeli expatriate. And people say, oh, why don't you travel by bus? They're cheap. But the trouble is, when you travel by bus, you get into a bus in one town and get out of the next town. There's no side stops for beautiful views like this if you travel by bus. And the locals who are giving me rides, like Gary, they can take me and show me a bit of extra Angola. And they give me extra contact with the people in the country. And what's next, you might say? Well, this is Angola. So next year, if I go to Zambia and see the Victoria Falls, I'm literally doing the A to Z of Africa, or figuratively speaking, the A to the Z of the world. So, I'm hitchhiking, and this video stops because Gary is going to give me a lift to Luanda. Thank you, Gary.
You're welcome.